Hello guys, welcome to the Baywatch podcast where I watch every episode of the hit 80s/90s show Baywatch. My name is DJ. Let's get started. Forever and always, I'm always here. Okay, I am so sorry that I have not put out an episode this week. It's been a crazy week, but I hope everybody had a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. I know I did, and thank you to all those soldiers out there for your service. I appreciate it. Now let's start with this crazy episode entitled Message in a Bottle. Air date October 20th, 1989. Oh my goodness, guys. This episode is a doozy. First, I'm going to get this out of the way. There is no lifeguarding in this episode. No, it focuses on another kid plot. Because apparently NBC thought that kids would be watching this show. Although you wouldn't know it when the episode starts. We start with a montage. I don't even know what they're doing. At one point they're in some boats, they're stretching, laying down. Shawnee is in it, Newbie's in it, and two random guys who I've never seen before, as well as a girl who looks like Jill, but I'm not sure if it is Jill. I mean, not Jill. Yeah, Jill. Anyway, it's hard to remember their names. Anyway, after that weird montage, we go to headquarters. Mitch is in his office, wondering about donuts and why they were $6. Nothing ever comes of that plot. Gunnar comes in and says that there's yet another missing persons report, and he tells Mitch that he is sure that it's pirates. Yes, a cop who is on the police force suggests that all these people who are missing in a boat, and this has been going on for quite some time, that it must be modern day pirates. And guys, it turns out that they're thieves who are just stealing stuff from these boats, and a little bit more on that later, but they're not wearing any eye patches or anything that a pirate would wear, so I'm kind of surprised that he would suggest pirates. So Hobie, his friend Sid, and his supposed girlfriend Melanie, I think her name is, I don't really know, have completed some sort of test in junior lifeguard school, and she suggests that they take her father's boat out for a ride, because she's got the keys, because he wanted her to gas it up. I don't think that kids are allowed to do that, to gas up a boat. I wouldn't even know how you do that, to tell you the honest to goodness truth. So Hobie decides, I guess, to go ask Mitch if he can go, because Mitch's ex-wife Gail, played by Wendy Malick, is back, and wardrobe finally has put her in something a woman would actually wear. And it doesn't look like a blazer that she got from the carnival. It actually looks nice, and she's wearing that sort of white blouse thing that I think Brandon's boss from Beverly Hills 90210 in the first season wore, as well as Brenda later on at some point, I remember, or Kelly, one of them. It's one of those 80s/90s tropes of a shirt. But Gail still thinks that Hobie should go to Ohio, because at least there he would focus on his schoolwork and wouldn't have free reign to do whatever he wanted to do. And from someone who used to live in Ohio, yeah, it's not fun there. So they're arguing over who's going to have Hobie, and Hobie rounds the corner and overhears. Mitch realizes that Hobie's standing there and goes, "Oh no, Hobie." Basically, Gale nor Mitch go after Hobie when he runs away from them. So from that little exchange, Hobie decides to go and be rebellious and go with his friends on the boat. Meanwhile, Shawnee has run over Eddie's foot. And they're at each other's throats. And the running over the foot happens off screen. But she's trying to fix his foot for him, and they're like yelling at each other. In the last episode, Eddie's friend from foster care basically trapped them in a lifeguard tower and practically almost killed them when he set it on fire. At the end of it, Shawnee and Eddie had agreed to go to dinner together, but now they're at each other's throats. Gee, I wonder what happened at that dinner. Mitch overhears them yelling and basically tells them that they are going to be on 24-hour shift. And I'm sorry, they are mowing the grass today for some odd reason. So I apologize for that in advance. I can't really help that. Anyway, so he puts them on 24-hour lifeguard duty from sun up to sundown. Cue the montage of the kids on the boat. Boy, they're having fun. They decide to go to an island and explore it. They anchor their boat and go in this little teeny tiny boat. As they're walking, Sid decides to tell them, "I didn't actually go to summer camp. I went to a survival camp. We weren't allowed to tell a lot of people we were there, but I can tell you now, because I was a kid then. You're a kid now, but okay." He goes, "But there I was, suspended over a cliff of a rocky gorge." And Melanie's all like, "Are you making this up? It's as true as I'm standing here." Boom! They fall into a cave. And even though you're probably thinking, well, obviously the writer was fond of the Goonies, obviously not. Because Sid, even though they just fell through a cave, I would be freaking out if this happened to me. But they get up and they just start walking. You know, like nothing happened. I mean, who cares of the circumstances of why we fell down here? Let's just keep walking. Sid gets up and he's like, "You know what? This island reminds me of Predator. Did you guys see that movie?" And they go, "No." He goes, "Well, there's these humans on this island, and there's this alien, and he knows that there are humans, but he kills them anyway." I guess that's a good description since I saw the second Predator, not the first one. But they laugh at him and they say, "You ran out of Teen Wolf." And I haven't seen the movie all the way through, but it's not a scary movie. It's supposed to be a funny movie making fun of other, werewolf movies. At least that's what I remember it being. So as they're talking about this and being carefree and being children, they come across a dead body. That brings our death toll up to 3 people now, Baywatch. In the pilot movie, we had Carl, who was the guy who was about to retire. And in the first episode, technically the second according to Hulu, we had Waveboat Girl, who was killed by a power ski. And now we have this random guy. But although Melanie screams, Hobie and his friend Sid have generally no reaction that there's a dead body in front of them. I kid you not. Then, if that doesn't make you sort of cringe, I can't blame the child actors for not having a reaction. Before they lift the sheet, the guy is clearly breathing. Like he's on his stomach with his face on the ground. And before they lift the sheet, basically, he looks like he's sleeping. looks like that the guy they hired to do this literally did not know when they were going to lift the sheet and just fell asleep in anticipation of waiting. So that's probably why they don't have a reaction to it. Well, somehow they make it out of the cave and they find a campsite full of various things. Melanie finds a Folgers coffee can full of diamonds. The best part of waking up is Folgers coffee and diamonds in your cup. I had to, it was there. So she goes, guys, look at this. And they go, wow, they're probably stolen. She puts them in her pocket. 'Cause diamonds are a girl's best friend. I mean, and nothing ever happens with these diamonds, believe me. They are never brought up again. So, from looking at this, they decide that they need to get out of there. But they find that their boat has drifted off to sea because they didn't put the anchor down right. So they decide they gotta camp there for the night. But don't worry, Sid has brought provisions. Little Debbie's and candy bars and stuff like that. You'll be able to survive on that, no problem. So, back at headquarters, Mitch has hired Craig as his lawyer. Yeah. So, even though it is highly unethical for Craig to take Mitch on as a client due to their relationship and him having an emotional stake in the case, therefore it would be legally unethical for him to be Mitch's lawyer. Thank you, Law & Order SVU, for me knowing that. And for basically teaching me that. But Craig is in his lifeguard uniform because Mitch has put him on duty that day. Gail's waiting for her lawyer, who never seems to show up, and there's a phone call that Sid is missing. Mitch puts 2 and 2 together and basically realizes that if Mitch is missing, Hobie is missing too. Gail basically says that this is Mitch's fault, that he wasn't watching Hobie. It's both of your all's fault, okay? Hobie clearly heard you guys arguing over him. He ran away. You didn't do anything or go after him to make sure he was okay. This is both your faults. End of discussion there. So, they get some search teams together, but of course it's dark already. Meanwhile, cue montage of Shawnee and Eddie working together. At first it's rough going, and Shawnee even teases Eddie that she's going to run him over again. Ha ha ha. Yep, and this is the couple we're supposed to be rooting for throughout this whole season. So far, I'm not rooting for them. Not at all. No. So eventually they get along. A kid gets lost and Eddie reunites him with his mom, and they're driving around, and now suddenly it's dark. And as they're driving around, they find a couple sleeping underneath one of the lifeguard towers. It turns out that they're from Ohio. Boy, the writers just love Ohio, don't they? They weren't supposed to come down because their parents didn't want them to. And the boyfriend didn't get traveler's checks. I don't know who he is, but the woman is Darlene's teacher, Miss Crane, in the pilot episode of Roseanne that aired a year before this episode did. And she also made a small, uncredited role as, I guess, Miss Crane again when Roseanne came back on the air. You know, before she got taken off the show. Anyway, we don't know what happens with this couple. They're introduced, all their stuff has been stolen, they have nowhere to go, so Shawnee and Eddie takes them back to headquarters, and literally nothing happens with them. When they get back to headquarters, the two have fallen asleep in the back of the truck. Shawnee and Eddie look at them and say, you know what, they remind me of us. I don't see how, but okay. So that's resolved, I guess. Meanwhile, the search team has turned up with nothing, and Mitch is beyond frustrated, taking his frustrations on the guy that basically is at the switchboard. Earlier, he tells him not to call him Sir or Lieutenant, so he goes, "Okay, babe." So funny. So, meanwhile, Mitch comes out of the thing. Before he comes out talking to the rescue team out of his office, Craig and Switchboard Guy just basically sits there and stares at each other because they have no dialogue. Mitch comes out and he's angry, rightfully so, because he can't find his son. And he goes, Craig goes, "I think you need to dial it back a little bit, Lieutenant." And Mitch goes, "I don't want to dial it back. My son is out there and I'm worried about him." A shot at Craig, and Death Glare decides to just look at him, and he goes, "You're right. I'm sorry. The power of Death Glare. I will make you feel better whether you want to or not. Ha 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 ha." So, Gale is outside looking at the water in hopes that Hobie will just be rounding the corner and be there in a matter of seconds. Mitch goes out to talk to her and basically tells her he's sorry, and they decide to take a boat out to go search for Hobie themselves. Of course, their search turns up nothing, but Gale wonders how it all went wrong with them. Mitch said it was probably because I'm a lifeguard, right? And she admits that that was one of the main reasons, and that they didn't seem to have any chemistry anymore. They hug each other and bond as parents, but beyond that, nothing happens. Back on the island, it's now dark, and they're at a fire that I guess they built. And Hobie talks about how his parents were arguing about who gets custody of him. And he says that he'd rather live with his father, but he loves his mom too and doesn't want to disappoint her. Melanie decides to put her 2 cents in by talking about herself. "My parents fight all the time. They basically say, well, you spend too much. Yeah, well, you drink too much. Well, your sister's a pig. Well, your brother's a bum. I was with her up until that whole your brother's a bum, your sister's a pig thing. What in the hell are her parents arguing about? They fight like that all the time in front of my brother and me, like we're not even there. And, almost like this is a soap opera, this causes them to almost kiss. No, please no. But they're interrupted when they overhear 2 guys talking. Hobie quickly puts out the fire and looks over a rock that they're behind. And it turns out that it's the thieves, burying more dead bodies. Oh my god, Baywatch, really? Melanie's like, "We gotta get out of here, we gotta wake up Sid." And he's all like, "No, let him sleep." And I'm like, why? My ass would be waking him up and getting the hell out of there. But no, they wait till morning. Meanwhile, it's the next day, and Mitch and Gale have not slept because they're worried about their son. They thank the random extras who are the team that's going out to find Hobie and his friends, and they go out and they start searching. Gale gets left at the switchboard with Switchboard Guy, and Mitch decides to go in a helicopter with Goner. Meanwhile, back on the island, the kids... Sid has a wonderful idea to put a message in a bottle. Ah yes, we finally got to the episode title. Sid has Hobie pour out soda from a glass soda bottle and finds a map and uses Melanie's lipstick to basically to write that they are shipwrecked and the name of the island they're shipwrecked on. And Sid's like, "I'll throw it, I have better aim." Now, here's a quiz for you. Does he A, throw the bottle, it floats out to sea, Mitch and company find it and they know exactly where they are, so there's no big deal. Or B, does it hit a rock, bust, the bad guys get it and it's completely useless, like the episode, and it's a completely useless episode title. If you chose A, you know how to write a television show. But you haven't seen Baywatch. If you chose B, then you've seen Baywatch and know. He literally throws it, and in 2.7 seconds, it busts on a rock, and the bad guys read the note and know now that there's suspicions of someone being on the island because they wake up and the diamonds, they notice that the diamonds is missing, and the other thief says to the other thief, "You stole the diamonds, I want it back." And the thief says the most intelligent thing you will ever probably hear on Baywatch. If I stole the diamonds, do you think that I'd still be sleeping here after I did that? Brilliant! Anyway, once the thieves know, they see them running. Now it's a montage of the thieves running after them. There happens to be a log that just is randomly there, and they push it down the hill after them, but it misses them by a mile. Then there's a moment where they're actually right there in front of them, but the bad guys don't even bother to look. Hobie throws a rock to make them think they went one way, and then they go the other. Okay. Eventually, they decide to get into their little boat and paddle out into the ocean, even though they have no idea where their boat is. Meanwhile, Craig has found their boat and notices that the anchor has not been put down, and Jill's there too, and has virtually no lines, and is just there. And before they leave the island, though, Sid makes a fire and makes smoke go up so that they know exactly where they are, which is what I would have done first instead of the freaking message in a bottle. So as the kids are rowing out to sea, the bad guys are after them. And even though at this point the kids have seen some dead bodies and seen some diamonds and literally took some diamonds out of a coffee can, no one has actually made the connection that they're the thieves. So I would just let them go. Not that I'm a thief, and not that I would ever be one, but I'm just saying, let them go. What is the point? Why would you chase after them? Especially when you see a helicopter with big letters that says, "Police!" So for some reason, while they're running after the kids, they decide to shoot at the helicopter with Mitch and Gunner in it. Gunner is able to kill one, and for some odd reason, Mitch decides to jump into the boat with the guy and had hand-to-hand combat. Yay! I mean, it is a little bit thrilling to watch him fight with the dude. Meanwhile, the kids are saved thanks to Mitch and Gunner. Back on land, the diamonds never come into play. We don't know if they ever make the connection that it's the thieves that have been, stealing stuff and killing people on boats. Mitch basically says to Hobie, "You know what you did is wrong, right?" And he goes, "Yeah, but I was mad at you because you and Mom were arguing over me." And Mitch goes, "Don't worry, there will be no more arguing." Gail comes wearing Mitch's jacket and says Hobie's name, and then they have that son and mom seeing each other montage type of thing, and all is well. Mitch tells Craig that him and Gail are going to not use lawyers to get through this custody thing. And Craig goes, "Okay, you owe me $100. Ha ha ha. For what?" And as for doing the custody thing themselves, because they have been doing such a great job thus far. Anyway, that's the episode, guys, and oh my goodness. To recap, Hobie and his friends go on an island and find dead bodies, stolen items like diamonds, and they get away and they're saved by Mitch. There was literally no lifeguarding in this episode. None whatsoever. Not even Shawnee and Eddie were saving anybody during their montage. I mean, isn't it convenient that if it's convenient to the plot, people are drowning, but in a episode like this, no one's drowning. It's totally fine. It's really weird that this being like the 4th or 5th episode, and we have no lifeguarding. We just have this really weird plot involving the kids on an island finding dead bodies. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and then the next episode, it's even crazier. But thank you for watching and listening for those of you that have. Thank you, and have a great weekend. And forever and always, I'm always here.